Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System, and the word of the day is binding. So if you're part of my world, or a world like mine, you have probably seen a number of invitations to participate in doing binding spells this weekend against the current U.S. administration. And some of them have suggested doing it on the 24th, some of them have suggested on using today with the new moon and the eclipse that's happening right now. But regardless, what they've basically been saying is that they've been inviting people who practice magic to participate in this mass spell to bind the administration from being able to do harm, to basically restrain and restrict the administration. And I've really been thinking a lot about this because personally, I believe there is something fundamentally flawed about it, and that it is something that I would not advise anybody do. And the reason why I would not advise anybody do this is because, for one thing, we are focusing our energy and our intentions, and we are directing our awareness on the negative instead of on the solution. And as I have said many, many times, where we direct our attention is what we amplify. It is what we increase in our world. So when we do a binding spell that is focusing on negativity and focusing on preventing something from growing, but we're looking at the thing we want to prevent, we are still putting an incredible amount of energy in towards the thing we don't like. The other piece of it is, if you think about your own experience ever in your life, whenever you have been in a situation where you have been restricted or you have been restrained, or even when your mom said, go to your room, how did that feel to you? Did you like it? No, of course you didn't. What would happen inevitably was that you would feel that restraint, you would feel that binding, you would feel that restriction, and immediately there would be a part of you that would be fighting to get free. And so instead of neutralizing the energies that are causing harm at this point in time, or making decisions that are not necessarily solution-oriented or for the greatest, highest, and greatest good, what we're doing is we are creating a restraint around them that will cause a power struggle and will amplify that energy, as well as reinforce this idea of duality and separation between us and them. And one of the problems I believe we have right now is this idea that we are separate, that we are different, that there are some of us who are us and some of them who are them. And the problem from my perspective of this is that the longer we work with this idea of us and them, the bigger the gap is going to get. But also, whenever we do something that's about restricting, about restraining, about preventing something from being able to exist, the natural order of the universe is to want to expand. The natural order of life is to want to live, to breathe, to grow. So as soon as something starts feeling itself pinched and constrained and being prevented from moving forward, it's going to start to fight back. And this is going to create an escalation. We do not need an escalation right now. That is not what is necessary. So I want to offer a possibility. I was saying the other day, I was talking about that Bukowski quote that sort of said, let's kill war. And I was saying the other day, how about instead of trying to kill war, we euthanize it? And in this particular case, I think this is another place where, from my perspective, fighting against the broken, fighting against something that is wounded, is not as effective as healing it. And the way I see things is that I actually believe that disconnection from truth, disconnection from love, greed, the belief that there are limited resources, that there are limited solutions, that there's only way to do it, rigidity, and the inability to be flexible and think of other possibilities, all of this comes down to feeling disconnected, believing that there is scarcity, and being in a place where there is a core fundamental wound that separates ourselves from the rest of humanity. And when I think about it this way, and I look at what is going on in America from the standpoint of what if instead of looking at it as either a power struggle or an us versus them, but instead looking at it as this is a wound, this is an illness that has been in our country for an incredibly long time, and it's sort of like an infection that is rising up to the surface to be healed right now. Number one, it's like, would you really want to bind an infection? Would you really want to do something that just basically like puts the jar over the top of it but allows it to continue to fester? Because at the core of it, there is something that is just broken and diseased and unhealthy. So instead of binding, what I would like to offer is the idea of healing, the idea of compassion, the idea of sending love. Because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that one of the most effective ways to make changes is not by negation or elimination, but actually by addition and adding things until there's no room for the other thing. Or even by the idea of by sending positive energy, by transmitting a new thought and a new idea, we can shift the vibration of something so that it is transformed, so that it is not about eliminating, removing, getting rid of, or preventing, as much as it is about sending so much love, so much positivity, so much healing, so much goodness in a certain direction that it shifts. Now, I believe that the microcosm is the macrocosm, and as above, so below. And so what I believe we can start with is ourselves. We can look at the places where we have our own wounds. We can look at the places where we are still stuck. We can look at the places where we are having a hard time setting limits and expressing our boundaries. We can look at the places where we are still filled with rage, where we are still filled with indignation, where we're still filled with hate. And we can start working on healing those pieces within ourselves. And when we reach a place where we feel calm enough, then we can start really, really broadcasting and cultivating compassion within ourselves, even for the people who appear to be completely contrary to us, even for the people who we may be like, I do not even recognize you as my own kind, because they are humans and they are from the same planet. And what we need to do, or if you believe in extraterrestrials, maybe they are from this universe, but they are here. And fundamentally, all of us are part of the same thing. And so what I really believe is that instead of binding, what we need to do is work towards the healing and send profound, profound love and compassion and healing in that direction. But if you are feeling completely angry, if you are still feeling terrified of this whole thing, what I would say is focus on you. Focus on taking care of you. Focus on healing yourself. And just, if you can, say a prayer for the rest of it, and do the actions that are about taking, about recognizing what is your bottom line, what will you not tolerate, and hold the line. Because there is a difference between standing your ground about what you believe in and what you know and what you care about and doing a binding against somebody or something. So I don't necessarily have a question for you, although I guess I could say is, how does this land for you? Is what I'm saying making sense? That when we do a binding, we are directing our attention towards the negative and we are amplifying the power struggle, as opposed to when we focus on healing, when we focus on compassion and profound love, we amplify that instead. So how does that ring for you? What does that feel like to you? Leave a comment below. Let me tell you what you think of all of this. And until next word of the day, I'm wishing you peace and ease. And if you'd like to find out where you fall on the highly sensitive empathic spectrum, I invite you to go over to my website, empathicwoman.com, and take the What's Your Empathic Type quiz. So, until next time, I wish you peace and ease, and also, I'd be really grateful if you would pass this along to other people who would find this message useful. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Peace.